The quiet village of Oakhaven was disturbed. A most peculiar event had occurred. Old Mr. Abernathy, the village historian, was found in his study. He was not harmed, but he was very distressed. His prized possession, the Locket of Oakhaven, was gone. This was no ordinary piece of jewelry. Legend said it held the key to a hidden treasure. The local constabulary was baffled. There were no signs of a break-in. The windows were locked from the inside. The heavy oak door was bolted. It was a puzzle, a true locked-room mystery that seemed impossible to solve. The villagers whispered among themselves. They gathered in the local pub, the Gilded Acorn. Their conversations were full of suspicion. Was it Mrs. Higgins, the nosy neighbor who always seemed to know everything? Or perhaps it was young Thomas, the gardener's boy who was known for his light fingers. Mr. Abernathy himself was a man of routine. He never deviated from his schedule. Every evening at precisely 9 o'clock, he would lock his study and retire for the night. Yet, on this particular morning, the locket had vanished as if into thin air, leaving behind only questions and a growing sense of unease. The locket was more than just a legend, it was the heart of Oakhaven's history. It had been passed down through generations of the Abernathy family. It was said to have been crafted by the village's founder centuries ago. The intricate silverwork depicted the ancient oak tree that gave the village its name. Within its delicate casing it was believed to hold a map, not on paper but in a series of cryptic symbols. The loss was not just a theft. It felt like a piece of the village's soul had been ripped away, leaving a void that only the truth could fill. The scene of the crime was a study in contradictions. Everything was perfectly in its place. The books were arranged neatly on the shelves. The papers on the desk were in orderly piles. Not a single chair was out of place. It was as if a ghost had passed through the room, taking only the locket. The local constable, a good man named Inspector Davies, scratched his head in confusion. He had checked for secret passages. He had dusted for fingerprints. He had found nothing. The mystery grew deeper with every passing moment, a complex web of impossibilities that seemed to have no logical explanation. Into this puzzling situation came a man of particular talents. His name was Julian Croft. He was not a policeman, nor was he a private detective in the usual sense. He solved mysteries, using what he called the method of the mind. He believed that every crime, no matter how complex, was a result of human psychology. It was a disruption of order and logic. To solve it, one did not need to run around chasing footprints. One needed to sit, to think, and to understand the nature of the people involved. He would arrange the facts in his head, just as one would arrange pieces on a chessboard, until the pattern became clear. Mr. Croft arrived in Oakhaven at the request of an old friend. He was a man of quiet observation, with sharp eyes that missed nothing. He did not carry a magnifying glass or a notebook. His only tool was his formidable intellect. He began his investigation not at the crime scene, but in the village square. He watched the people. He listened to their conversations. He observed the subtle glances, the nervous gestures, the hushed tones. He knew that the truth of the missing locket was not hidden in the dust of the study, but in the hearts and minds of the Oakhaven residents. The solution was there, waiting to be uncovered. His approach was unconventional, to say the least. He invited the main suspects to tea. Mrs. Higgins, young Thomas, and even Mr. Abernathy's estranged nephew Arthur were all present. He did not ask them direct questions about the theft. Instead, he spoke of trivial things. He discussed the weather, the quality of the scones, and the history of the village. But all the while, he was watching. He was analyzing their reactions, their choice of words, their body language. He believed that in these unguarded moments, the truth would inadvertently reveal itself. A slip of the tongue or a flicker of fear in the eyes was more telling than any formal interrogation. Julian Croft believed that a crime created ripples. The theft of the locket was a stone thrown into the calm pond of Oakhaven. His task was to trace those ripples back to their source. He spent hours in quiet contemplation, often sitting alone in his guest room at the inn. He would close his eyes and reconstruct the events in his mind. He considered every possibility, no matter how improbable. Was it a simple theft for money, or was it an act of revenge? Perhaps it was something else entirely, something connected to the old secrets the village held so dear. The little gray cells, as he liked to call them, were hard at work. The investigation progressed, and the web of secrets began to unravel. Mr. Croft discovered that Mrs. Higgins was not just a nosy neighbor. She was in deep financial trouble, a fact she had carefully hidden from everyone. The locket, if it led to treasure, would have been the perfect solution to her problems. This new information cast a dark shadow of suspicion upon her. Her constant presence near the Abernathy house was no longer just curiosity. It now seemed like she was watching, waiting for an opportunity. The motive was strong, and the opportunity was there. Then there was young Thomas, the gardener's boy. Mr. Croft learned that Thomas had a hidden talent. He was a gifted locksmith, able to pick even the most complicated of locks. He had learned the skill from his grandfather. The villagers thought he was just a simple lad, but he possessed a secret skill that made him a prime suspect. Could he have used his talent to bypass the bolted door of the study? The boy was quiet and withdrawn, and his silence made him seem all the more guilty in the eyes of many. He claimed his innocence, but the knowledge of his ability was a powerful argument against him. A surprising twist emerged with the arrival of Arthur, Mr. Abernathy's nephew. He and his uncle had not spoken in years after a bitter argument over the family inheritance. Arthur had always believed the treasure was rightfully his. He had returned to Oakhaven just 2 days before the theft. His timing was highly suspicious. He was a man with a clear motive and a resentful heart. He openly expressed his belief that his uncle was a fool for treating the treasure as a mere historical curiosity instead of a source of wealth. The conflict between uncle and nephew added another layer of complexity to the case. The clues were like pieces of a grand puzzle, but they did not fit together. If Mrs. Higgins had stolen it, how did she get through the locked door? If Thomas had picked the lock, why was there no sign of tampering? And if Arthur was the culprit, he would have had the same problem. Mr. Croft felt a sense of growing tension. The village was full of whispers and accusations. Everyone seemed to have a secret. The locket was at the center of it all, a silent object that was tearing the fabric of the community apart. The pressure was mounting to find the answer before the village turned on itself. Julian Croft gathered all the suspects once more, this time in Mr. Abernathy's study, the scene of the crime. The atmosphere was thick with anticipation. He began to speak, his voice calm and measured. He did not point a finger. Instead, he started to talk about the history of the locket. He spoke of the Abernathy family and their duty as guardians of the village's secret. He explained that the crime was not one of greed, nor of revenge. It was a crime born of desperation, but not in the way they all thought. The room was silent, every eye fixed upon him as he slowly laid out his final conclusions. He turned his attention to Mr. Abernathy himself. He noted the old man's deep love for Oakhaven and its history. He also noted his failing health and his fear for the future. "There was no theft," Mr. Croft declared softly. "The locket was never stolen." A gasp went through the room. He explained that Mr. Abernathy, fearing his time was short and having no heir he could trust, had decided to protect the secret in the only way he knew how. He had created the illusion of a theft to spark a search, to ensure that the village itself would become the guardian of its own legend. The locked room was a clever piece of theater. The how was simple, elegant, and entirely overlooked. Mr. Abernathy had not locked the door from the inside before going to bed. He had simply pretended to. In the morning, after hiding the locket, he had gone out, pulled the door shut, and then used a special key to lock the bolt from the outside, a key only he possessed. He then re-entered through the back of the house and raised the alarm. The true treasure, Mr. Croft revealed, was not gold or jewels. It was a collection of historical documents, detailing the village's entire history, hidden safely within a vault under the old oak tree. The locket's symbols were the combination. Mr. Abernathy, with tears in his eyes, confessed. He admitted he had staged the whole affair to find a worthy successor, someone who valued history over wealth. He had watched as Mr. Croft's investigation unfolded, seeing the greed and suspicion in some, but also the genuine concern in others. In the end, the community of Oakhaven, united by the mystery, agreed to preserve their shared history together. The locket was returned to its place, no longer a secret for one man to keep, but a symbol of the village's enduring spirit. The puzzle was solved, not with handcuffs, but with understanding, and a renewed sense of community.